Bruno Fernandes, United's captain, creative force or constant complainer. Fans and pundits are split on the man, and now even Roy Keane has lost his mind over the Portuguese Magnifico. But what's the real truth about Bruno? Today we're breaking down Roy Keane's latest comments, what new manager Ruben Amorim really thinks of him, his impact on the team, and what his own teammates have said about him. Let's get into it. Roy Keane's eruption on Bruno Fernandes came as a result of a conversation between himself and Ian Wright. Roy Keane isn't one to hold back, and he's made his thoughts on Fernandes very clear, saying, "You have to have a starting point. I go back to it all. Talent is not enough. Bruno's a talented player, but talent's not enough. You've got young players. You have to look at somebody and go, I like what he does. Leadership is action. Leadership to me is about action." Keane's biggest issue? That Fernandes spends more time moaning than motivating through action. Do you agree with Keane, or is he being too harsh? This isn't the first time that Roy Keane has criticised Fernandes. In 2022, he went as far as to call Bruno a baby for reacting to his critics. Meanwhile, Arsenal legend quickly jumped to defend Fernandes, saying if Fernandes is not there, Manchester United would be in the relegation zone. Ironically, not long after the conversation, Fernandes was officially confirmed as United's Player of the Month for February. Watching the clips of Roy Keane digging out Bruno, I'm going to be honest, are hard to watch. It's like watching your brother dig out your best friend. But where does our new head coach Amorim stand on Fernandes? As much weight as a former United legend's words have, realistically, the one man whose opinion on Fernandes ultimately matters is Ruben Amorim. After all, he is the man tasked with rebuilding this squad in his image, so let's see what he's had to say on Fernandes. But first, Amorim did have his own view on the comments that followed from Roy Keane. Ruben Amorim on Roy Keane's criticism of Bruno Fernandes. "I heard about that, but I have a different opinion. Bruno is really important for us in the club, especially for me. He is playing well in a difficult context. He wants always the responsibility. Roy Keane has big standards from his time, and it's normal to have an opinion. I have an opposite opinion, and I think it's more important than Roy Keane's because I'm the coach, and I think he's doing things quite well." So it's clear to see that Amorim isn't the biggest fan of Keane's words, even going as far as to say he has the opposite opinion. Now, again, obviously Roy Keane is a legend of Manchester United, and his words will hold a certain weight. However, whose opinion are you more likely to go with? The person who gets to watch a player for 90 minutes every week, or the man who's seeing him every day? Even though Amorim has gone as far as saying this is the worst United side in history, one player he's always been quick to support has been Bruno Fernandes. Here's a few things that Amorim has come out with on Bruno. He's amazing. He's always ready to play. Of course, you sometimes feel that he's not fresh. It's impossible. But the availability of Bruno is really important in a league where you play in 3 days. He's really important in any position that he plays. He is the guy that can sometimes, in the hardest moments, hold the ball, and that is really important for the team. He is a leader. He scored the first goal and helped us get a point. It's a blessing to have him. Of course, he has this character that people sometimes find hard to understand, but he's a very good player who works very well. He's always available, so he's the kind of player the club needs. It's a special player, always available. That character, I really like the character. He's a very important player for us. When it is difficult, he is always there. So it's safe to say Amorim's a big fan of Fernandes. However, just to play Red Devil's advocate here, there have been reports that Amorim is particularly close with Fernandes, and oh my god, Diogo Dalot. Manchester United players have noticed that Ruben Amorim is naturally closest with Fernandes and Dalot, but with another squad upheaval planned for the summer, the head coach is not getting attached to the majority of squad members. So does this mean that there's some bias involved in defending the Portuguese midfielder, or is Amorim just being honest? Since arriving in 2020 for only £47 million, Bruno has been one of United's most important players. But has he been a success or a frustration? Let's talk stats. Fernandes' numbers tell a very different story from what the eye test sometimes suggests. He scored 89 goals and assisted 79 in his time at United. Ridiculous numbers for only 272 games played. After our match v Everton, Fernandes secured double figures in both goals and assists this season, meaning he's done so in every full season he's represented Manchester United. And when we compare Fernandes' output to every other player in the club, it's an absolute night and day difference. Bruno Fernandes has scored or assisted 167 goals for Manchester United, 128 more than any other player at the club. But it's all very well looking at overall stats that include numbers from previous seasons when we were actually competing. How is he doing this season when we're the definition of mediocrity? Well, without Fernandes, we arguably wouldn't have grabbed any points from our last 4 games. Manchester United's last 6 goals have come from Bruno Fernandes' set pieces. He's at the top of the scoreboard for Premier League midfielders when it comes to progressive actions, progressive passes completed, forward passes, long passes completed, and passes into the penalty box. He's a clutch player too, proven by the fact that Bruno Fernandes has won the second most points for his club by goals and assists after Mo Salah since his Premier League debut. And a side of Fernandes' game that doesn't get the credit it deserves is his defensive work. His creativity is so elite that the defensive side of his game doesn't even get talked about. He might not be the most physical of players, but to be in the top 98% of attacking midfielders for chances created and defensive actions is ridiculous. Now let's talk about his impact on the team. Love him or hate him, there's no denying Fernandes has a massive impact on United's attack. But what's his actual impact on the team as a leader? He himself has been very critical on how the United squad have been performing this season, and he's very aware of the confidence sides currently have when they come up against United, saying, "We have to bring that feeling back to Old Trafford, where teams that come to play here feel that we can score and hurt them at any time." He's trying his best to get the fans riled up and hopeful again, but I can confidently say that despite his best efforts, a lot, if not all of the fan base have lost hope for this season at least. This is a massive club used to winning games. I hope our fans don't get used to losing games. I want them to believe in the players and that we can win every game. When asked if Ruben Amorim's comments on this being the worst United side in history affected him, here's what he had to say. To be honest, myself, yes, because I don't want to see my manager saying certain things about the team, because I know he doesn't feel that. I'm pretty sure in a moment of rage, I am Portuguese, we feel it very quick, the blood comes out very quick, is their moment. But to be honest, I was here with Ole, one of the calmest people I ever met, and he had this rage at the players sometimes. When you're in a position as a manager, you want to win games. You depend on the results, and sometimes you need to have these kinds of words to your players. But Fernandes, despite actually being one of the only players who's been consistent, has also been self-critical, saying the following: "We have to do much more. Me first. Everyone has to lift standards of each other and end the season in the best way possible." If the captain of the team and arguably the most consistent player over the past 5 years can come out and say that he needs to do much more, then the players around him have no excuse. If only players like Dalot would come out with quotes like this and show some actual humility for once. It's not as though Fernandes hasn't been trying off the pitch to get these players to start performing either. Last week's team bonding night out was organised by Bruno Fernandes, Joshua Zirkzee, Manuel Ugarte, Matis de Ligt, Noussair Mazraoui, Patrick Dorgu and Aidan Haven had to perform an initiation song, with sources saying that Zirkzee's R&B performance was particularly impressive. If a pizza party won't get them going, I don't know what will. Not to mention Fernandes' impact on youth players coming through. I don't know if anyone remembers, but Bruno was a big confidant for Mainu during his breakthrough season, going as far as to call Mainu the future of the club. He's now doing the exact same thing with Collier, and I imagine he will continue to do the same thing with all other youngsters coming through the ranks. Here's what he's had to say on Collier. "Toby doesn't need help, to be honest. He is a great kid, a great example of a professional. He's a great example of someone who comes from the academy and knows his place, knows how much he wants to get into the positions of other players. He trains very well every week, trains at the maximum level. He's a really good kid who wants to learn. He's eager to learn and listen, and he has big qualities. He's aggressive off the ball, he's aggressive running with the ball, he's class in tight spaces, and he is just going to get better." Now, imagine being Toby hearing this from the captain of the first team, who's also a generational talent. Think about how motivated he's going to be after seeing he's getting backed by Fernandes. And this just goes to show there's different styles of captains for different squads. This might sound controversial, but I honestly believe if we traded Fernandes out for prime Keane right now, we would get relegated. His brash attitude to things would alienate alienate himself from his squad, and we would end up getting dropped from the Premier League. Although I respect his communication style, things have changed. People have changed, football has changed. The ironic thing about Roy Keane's comments, particularly about Fernandes waving his arms, is that wasn't Roy Keane known for showing emotion on a football pitch? He literally ended a man's career to get back at him for being taunted. So it's borderline hypocritical when he brings up the fact that Fernandes likes to throw his arms up in the air, don't you think? But what have Fernandes' teammates said about him? Toby Collier has praised his leadership when helping the youth come through the system and transition into the first team, also saying he's an incredible player, he is technical, intelligent, he has everything. United's former captain Harry Maguire has come out in support of Fernandes as well, saying he supported him during his challenging times at the club. With Bruno, we have a very good relationship. He supported me when I was captain. We trust each other. He is now the captain, and we see each other as leaders. He's a fantastic player. Rafael Varane has also said he was particularly impressed with Fernandes' ability to operate under immense pressure when things aren't going his way. Even in difficult moments, they are capable of doing extraordinary things. Beyond the men's team, Fernandes has made an effort to support United's women's team, a rare example of a captain involved in all aspects of the club. Manchester United women's players had only been given a small ticket allocation for friends and family at Wembley for the 2024 Women's FA Cup final. When Bruno Fernandes and Tom Heaton heard about it, they intervened and covered the cost of additional tickets using dressing room fine money. I mean, to say Fernandes isn't respected in the club would be a complete lie. From almost all of the reports that have come out over the years, everyone loves the man. So where do we stand? Fernandes is United's best creator, but his attitude divides opinion. Is he the right leader for the club moving forward? You tell me. In my opinion, I think people really have to nitpick when they look for problems with Fernandes, and it just shows their biases to other players because he's been nothing but a great servant to the club since he signed, and without him, honestly, I don't know where Manchester United would be. Keane, he's had a nightmare on this one. Let me know what you make of Bruno Fernandes in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, drop a like and subscribe for more honestly biased sports content. But for now, Godspeed.